Diagnosed with leukemia back in the mid-1990s, Andy Hanson has generated hope in many people through his tireless efforts at providing dollars for leukemia research and financial assistance to families in need.
It's now time for Spectrum. Here's Stu Cohen.
Funding leukemia research is very, very important, as you'll hear from someone who knows firsthand. My guest this morning is Andy Hanson, president of Andy's Chapter of Hope and the Leukemia Research Foundation. He's here to promote the July Meghan Cooper Memorial Golf Outing at the Redtail Golf Club in Lakewood. But Andy, as our listeners might know, as we've had you in here for the Meghan Cooper event in the past few years, I want to know how the funds have helped research.
Well, the great news is that the impact of funding research certainly continues to help on the leukemia and lymphoma front that the Leukemia Research Foundation supports. And I can tell you that from a leukemia perspective, so even, for example, the type that I had, back when the Leukemia Research Foundation started back in 1946, when there was no chances of survival, I think in 1975, the survival rate was about 40%, and for adults today is over 70%. So there's been a tremendous amount of progress being made, and it can only be made through funding research, and that's what our organization strives to do, is provide those funds to the researchers around the world to ensure that everyone who's diagnosed with a blood cancer is a survivor.
We're saying that 70% can survive?
For adults with a specific type of leukemia, and actually for that same type, which is acute lymphocytic leukemia, for children now it's over 90%. But there are multiple forms of leukemia as well as lymphomas, and so from a leukemia perspective, I mean, you're still looking at, from a general perspective, a 50-50 chance of survival across the broad spectrum of blood cancers.
So what we're also saying is then, in terms of research, there are all these different fronts because of all these different types of leukemia. So the research, into one is not the same as into another probably, and into another, into another. So that means there's got to be tons of research and a lot of money that's invested in this.
Exactly. And, just for me, I was fortunate. And when I was diagnosed, they said, you're lucky you've got the good type of leukemia. And so not that there's any good form of cancer, but that was certainly one of the things that helped me was I got one of the types of leukemia that was actually one of the most treatable forms.
And would that also be the one that they had the most research on, or no?
Well, I think they researched certainly across the spectrum of blood cancers, and it just, you never know where that breakthrough is going to happen. So, the researcher might start down on one path, and it might lead to another discovery. So it's hard to gauge exactly where some of those start because you don't know where that next breakthrough is going to come from, and that's why the work of the foundation is so important, because we do fund new investigators across the world with grants of $100,000 to kind of get them started and developing those breakthroughs that other researchers can benefit from.
And certainly, and we're going to mention this a number of times in our Northwest Spectrum program, the Meghan Cooper Memorial Golf Outing will be July 16th. And it's the 13th annual Meghan Cooper Memorial Golf Outing, and this is the Redtail Golf Club at 7900 Redtail Drive in Lakewood. And I don't even know if you have a specific total on how much has been raised at this point, but I would assume thousands and thousands of dollars through this event, and even before I think you were involved, before it even became this particular event.
Right. And the Meghan Cooper Golf Outing has probably raised by itself over $150,000 over the years. And it started as just a small outing with maybe 20 people that came out to support this cause, and has grown over the past several years where we've, sold out the golf portion at Redtail, as well as filled up the Lou Malnati's in Lakewood, who's also a tremendous partner of ours that helps us in this battle as well. So it's really grown over the years, and we're very fortunate to have a lot of tremendous sponsors, as well as the support of Redtail, and like I said, Lou Malnati's. They're great partners to have for our organization.
Now, the effort took on the name of Meghan Cooper some years back, as we mentioned. She had leukemia and unfortunately passed away from leukemia back in 1993. And so a lot of people knew Meghan Cooper, knew the family, and they can tell her story.
Yeah, exactly. And when we started Andy's Chapter of Hope, we didn't know the Cooper family, but after we started, came in connection with them and learned their tragic story of the loss of their daughter Meghan at the age of 8, as you say, back in 1993. And we decided that we didn't have a name for our golf outing at that point, and decided this was a great way to kind of pay tribute to a local family who had gotten involved with our organization, and it's gone from there and grown ever since.
Over the years that you've been doing the Meghan Cooper Memorial Golf Outing, I would imagine you've talked to many people who've had loved ones who've had leukemia, many who've been saved because of the research, some that unfortunately probably haven't. And it's quite an emotional experience for you, having been through this experience yourself.
Every year that we have this event, it certainly for me brings back a lot of emotions. Being a survivor, but also knowing so many families that have lost a loved one, and that's essentially why we're here, is because I've been very fortunate. I now actually, since I was diagnosed, I met my wife, Cher, who's been a tremendous support for me. And we also now have 3 children that I didn't know that I would be able to have. And so I've got 3 amazing daughters, Macy, who's now 9, my middle daughter, McKenna, who's now 6, and my youngest, Nora, who's 4. And when I look at them and I look at the foundation that's supported research for over 65 years, I owe my life as well as my children's lives to that group. And, just the good fortune that I've experienced, I want to try to help in any way I can, help others be as fortunate as I have been, because it's truly been a blessing.
You've pretty much dedicated your life to this, haven't you?
Yeah, at this point, I mean, outside of work and family, this is one of my main focuses is to support the Leukemia Research Foundation and try to get that message out about the importance of not only funding research, but the other great programs that the foundation offers, which include providing financial assistance to families, because we know going through any type of cancer battle, outside of even the medical expenses, can just be financially devastating. And so we want to do what we can to provide even some amounts to help those families that are truly in need. And then we also provide support programs throughout the year to give patients and their families and their caregivers access to just world-renowned blood cancer specialists, where they can ask questions, get the latest updates on treatments and therapies, and just get all their questions answered, and feel like they've got access to the best care possible.
Our people listening to Northwest Spectrum have been listening to my interview with Andy Hanson, and this is about the Meghan Cooper Memorial Golf Outing that's coming up on July 16th at the Redtail Golf Club on Redtail Drive in Lakewood. And that is, not really a description of the whole thing. There's a lot involved in this. And in the last few minutes, let's just talk about the events that are taking place at that time.
Yeah, so on Monday, July 16th, we'll be heading out to the Redtail Golf Course, which is in Lakewood, and we expect a full field again this year. So if you're interested in entering for the event, you can certainly go to our website at www.leukemia-hope.org, and you can get all the information, but it'll start with golf at Redtail. And then once we wrap up there, we'll move over to the Lou Malnati's, which is just down the road. So it's very convenient, and have the use of their entire facility. And like I say, they've been a great partner. We'll have silent auctions, raffles, other contests throughout the day, award the winners of our contests from the golf outing itself. But there's certainly lots of ways you can participate, including just, making a donation, coming out for just the lunch if you're not a golfer or the golf is full, or sponsoring the event. So we've got a lot of great opportunities to support kind of a local fundraising effort on behalf of the Leukemia Research Foundation, and everybody can make a difference.
I believe you probably have quite a few people that come back every year because they believe so strongly in finding the cures for leukemia.
Yeah, absolutely. And from our golf partners to, Lou Malnati's, everybody just has a great experience with the event as well. And so they come back year after year certainly because of the cause, as well as because it's just a really nice event that's geared towards families and makes a difference.
Andy, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much for having me again, and hopefully we'll see you out there on the course.
My guest this morning was Andy Hanson of Andy's Chapter of Hope and the Leukemia Research Foundation. You've been listening to Northwest Spectrum. I'm Stu Cohen. Thanks for listening. Diagnosed with leukemia back in the mid-1990s, Andy Hanson has generated hope in many people through his tireless efforts at providing dollars for leukemia research and financial assistance to families in need.
It's now time for Spectrum.